Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ruben Uncut. Continuing a sort of holiday tradition, I am, of course, once again speaking with Dean Coutris for Easter.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having everybody. Thank you for having me on, Ruben. I enjoy this little yearly tradition we got. We started, I think, in your first year of the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about Easter and
Mm-hmm.
just how all of the things that we've come to associate with Easter are just kind of made up by the church and
Yeah,
by
well,
Christianity.
and of course, the candy industrial complex.
Yes, yes, yes. The candy industrial complex headed. Who do you think is in charge of the candy industrial complex? Do you think Nestle is are the kind of the top players in that?
I mean, well, Nestle's definitely a top player in the industries that make candy.
Hmm.
Although to be fair, all the candy industries really are technically part of the food industries.
Hmm.
Like Nestle doesn't even just make candy; they also make microwave dinners and despair primarily. Human suffering, that is Nestle's major product.
Oh, if it wasn't true, uh, it would be funny.
You have to laugh to keep from crying.
You
That
kind of do. You kind of do.
that's the way it's always been.
Mm. Yep. But no, man, thank you for having me on. It's good to see you. I have,
Yeah, we haven't talked in a while. It's
in a long time.
oh,
And we used to talk so much,
it's
when
true.
we were doing our thing with Kata and with the podcast, we would talk to each other like almost weekly, and now it's like I don't even know who you are anymore, man.
I'm still mostly the same person.
Although I do catch a couple of episodes here and there.
Mhm.
I do catch a couple episodes. Some of your I'm just going to be full disclosure. Some of your episodes like I think you had a Minecraft one recently, like
Yeah.
about the movie. Like there's some things you talk about that I just like it would go over my head. I don't have any interest in. It's not that I'm not interested in you talking about these things, just the subject matter is just not.
I mean, I honestly didn't have a ton to say about the Minecraft movie.
I
Although
did. No, go ahead.
I will say it does also contain my reaction to my thoughts on the new uh, Superman preview that they're putting before the Minecraft movie. Also,
What are your thoughts on that? I didn't listen to the episode.
that's fair.
Hmm.
I'm cautiously optimistic for the new Superman movie.
Okay.
There's a lot of hullabaloo online, and I think a lot of it is just, I mean, like it's honestly the same shit every time that like almost every time DC does anything, it's the same shit. And it's been this way for decades. Like when it was announced that Tim Burton was casting Michael Keaton, everyone was like, no, absolutely not. Then everyone loved Michael Keaton. In fact, like half the people who have been cast as Batman have caused like mass like people being like even worse in the internet times. Like, no, not Robert Pattinson. No, not Ben Affleck. No, like, yeah, no, it's that meant
You're
a
right.
hard job.
You're right, man. It's a hard job, definitely for sure to be cast in the new Batman role because you have a big sort of cowl to fill.
Yeah,
But yeah, everybody does just kind of freak out, about new castings and stuff like that. And with Superman, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense in that it's just sort of par for the course. People are just gonna always have outrage about it. I'm kind of
true.
I'm kind of
People were mad. People were mad that people were mad that Superman Returns was too much like the Christopher Reeves movies, and then Man of Steel came out, and people were mad that it wasn't enough like the Christopher Reeves movie.
You
Like,
can't please
yeah,
everybody. Yeah, and with the fans and uh this is my opinion. I think some properties, I think Star Wars maybe I could be wrong.
Star
Star
Wars is
Wars
pretty
might have
dark.
listened to the fans a little too much, do you think? Maybe in retrospect?
Um, so I think that Disney unnecessarily pivoted after The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I think it overall resulted in a product that was not as good.
Yeah.
Just not as good.
Yeah.
And
Ha-
like I get it. The Last Jedi is a very challenging movie. It takes more risks than people are used to seeing in a Star Wars movie. Its overall subtext is very like subversive to like fandom and Star Wars in general.
hmm
So I get why there are people who don't like it, but
hmm
like it was still like it's still a better movie. Like it's coherent
Mm.
in regard it as opposed to what happens with the rise of Skywalker, which is
Yeah.
just a wild pivot away from what they were doing with the previous movie,
hmm
which only makes all the choices in the previous movie weirder. But like how I think pivots are generally speaking some of the most challenging and questionable decisions that I see Hollywood do over and over again.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I agree.
like pivoting into something that is surprisingly successful is one thing. Like that's a pivot that's built in. Like you're like it's like, oh, this character was way more popular than we expected. Let's pivot into that. Like that makes sense,
Yeah.
even from like a purely capitalist standpoint. But like the panic pivot that Hollywood does, I don't think it's ever helped anyone.
I think it kind of depends on the intention. And like not to get a little too snobby about it, but like if the intention is like if the pivot happens as a result of an artistic choice and something happens that you weren't expecting, I think that that's cool.
Yeah.
But when you have executives coming in there trying to say, "No, we want to feature this character more because they're more marketable," then
Mm-hmm.
you're making a decision more out of a profit standpoint. And I think that that's deadly to art and storytelling.
I will say I don't necessarily have a problem with when characters that are suddenly popular with fandoms get like to grow more inside of a universe. I don't think that's necessarily a problem.
No.
But like there is of course like forced like corporations do attempt to force things as well.
hmm
Um but yeah, like just it was just, that movie was just a lot of pivots.
I watched, I can't remember if we've spoken about this since, but I watched the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Like I watched all the movies. Not recently, maybe within the last year, I rewatched them. And like alone, they're all fine
Mm-hmm.
movies, but like if you try to put them together as a trilogy, it just doesn't work. But each as a standalone movie, they're kind of fun and entertaining. And there's moments of all of the movies that I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love the I think the best scene in Last Jedi, well, I could be wrong. I don't know. It's the throne room scene with Rey and Kylo Ren when they're fighting back to back against the Emperor guards and against Snoke. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
Mm.
Um it took me a while it took me a while to like both accept the fact that the thing I didn't like about Poe Dameron is actually what made him an interesting character in the movie.
Mm.
It took me a while to
Mm.
realize that like the entire point is that he is supposed to be that asshole,
Mm.
and like that's what the Last Jedi like because he's the gung ho space cowboy who's just going around like being like just fucking things up because he can't take directions and he's always going off the handle. And so like I understand what the movie's trying to do. And actually, if there's one thing that annoyed me about like the Last Jedi should have featured some type of redemption arc for Poe Dameron, but
Mm.
instead it just is like we've already forgiven him and elevated him to the highest levels of our command.
Mm.
And it's like what?
Mm.
And also like why is he a general? Like why is
What
like
did he do to earn that?
yeah, what did he do to earn that? Like does
Yeah.
his skill set even align with that? Like it seems like you'd want him more on like a front line situation and then like um Finn's character also co-general. It's like this is a little.
Well, they had to work in the somehow Palpatine returned sort of like arc into the story, and so maybe they had like a little bit of an arc in Rise of Skywalker for those two characters that they had to scrap because they just didn't have enough time because they had to
Suppose,
wedge Palpatine in there.
supposedly there is a significantly longer cut of the film that was never released.
Can we just release all of these cuts? Like, I think we're talking, like, people are talking now, they want the Batman Forever Joel Schumacher cut,
Mhm.
which, rest in peace, Val Kilmer.
Yep.
Not my favorite Batman.
Mm.
But Val Kilmer is just he was a great actor. He was a
Yeah.
sort of just a rare talent. So I don't want to speak poorly of people now that they're
Yeah.
gone. Even though I didn't know Val Kilmer, but yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, what's up with all these like release this cut, release that cut. Well,
Yep.
let's just release them all. Put them all on streaming. Like they
And
might
like
end up doing well.
I mean, the big thing is that some of these cuts still exist, and some of these cuts have been lost to time, unfortunately. Like the director's cut for Event Horizon. The director has said that like he would love to do it, but like that the footage just doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess if movies get old enough, they're not like kept digitally and, you
Mhm.
know,
People
that
have
it only lasts for so long that the film, I guess.
the Schumacher cut supposedly exists. Some people have said that they've seen it.
Mm,
The Ayers cut of Suicide Squad
mm,
exists. He says he has a copy of it. He's shown it to at least like a couple different fans.
hmm
Um, but yeah, it's pretty wild what type of I it's pretty wild the director's cuts that exist or don't exist. There is actually a long like I've read lists on like director's cuts of movies. And
mm.
like what's interesting is that some of history's biggest box office flops are like the butchered like just butchered like very long films that studios did not want to put out because of their length.
Yeah.
Like supposedly Ridley, I haven't seen either version of the film actually, but Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, the director's cut is supposed to be like a lot more fleshed out and make like a lot more sense. And I think it's called like Heaven's Gate or something. I could be wrong. It's like a Western, and
hmm
it's like has a ludicrously long director's cut that is
mm
supposed to be really good, but
mm.
like the theatrical cut was panned by the critics and is was bombed at the box office. Um,
I actually enjoyed Kingdom of Heaven. I remember when that movie came out, it was a little controversial, maybe about 20 years ago now. I think it's because it didn't paint the Crusaders in such a positive light,
mm,
which I think is actually kind of more accurate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The Crusaders are motherfuckers, man. They weren't.
Also, man, it's like it's Ridley Scott. Like
Yeah,
people should just know that like he's more interested in telling a story than doing historical things. So
right.
like at a certain point, you either just have to hate all Ridley Scott historical dramas, or you have to be like, it's just Ridley Scott doing his thing. I'm gonna have fun with it.
I think that's hard for some audiences to separate that. They want something to be historically accurate, and then also like balancing that this is just a story, so we've taken liberties with the historical facts. Like people almost want to be like they want to see the like things being historically accurate.
Some of the movies I've seen that are based on true stories and are very accurate to the true stories, sometimes they just end. Like you
Yeah,
get to the movie and it's just like, well, there wasn't really a rise and climax. It's like, no, that's because it was real life. That's what
because
happened.
that's how real life happens.
Like a
Yeah,
good example
exactly.
of that is like The Big Short. Like the big
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
like it's very funny and it's very dramatic, but it kind of just like kind of ends, and it's
It
kind of
just
like
kind of
because
yeah.
that because like, because this is how it happened.
This is yeah. That was a good movie too.
Yeah,
The
no, I
Big
did like
Short.
The Big Short.
Yeah.
And like they kind
Um,
of knew that the story, like the plot structure, wouldn't match on to like traditional like film story structures. So they were like, just add a bunch of postmodern elements and embrace it. Like, it's not like this movie's going to have a climax. We're kind of just more here to inform people.
I think that did that effectively.
Yeah,
Which I don't know if we've quite learned any of those lessons. It seems like we're going through a similar cycle again.
this reminds me though. Adam McKay is an improv guy.
Really?
Yeah, the director Adam McKay. He's an improv guy. He came up doing
Okay.
improv theater.
Awesome. How is improv? What are you working on? Are you in
Oh
any?
man,
Yeah,
I'm in a bunch of shows right now.
that's great. Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm doing the Form show. Oh, well, actually, it won't be tomorrow for anyone listening to this, but as of this recording, tomorrow I will be doing the Form show,
Hmm.
which will be is being incorporated into this college fest type deal
Okay.
that Imposters in Theater in Cleveland is having.
What theater fest, what college fest is
Uh,
it?
it's up at Imposters Theater.
Oh, yeah. Did you say college fest or theater fest?
It's a college improv troupe fest.
Oh, okay. Oh, so a bunch of college improv
Yeah.
troops are coming there too. Oh, that's cool.
So the two groups that'll be performing in the Form show tomorrow with me and Marissa will be to I think Kent State, and I'm not sure who the other one is.
That's
But
great.
I ran into the Kent State group last night, and that was
Hmm.
cool because apparently they had some of the history. They still knew some of the history of the group, which was cool.
The Black Squirrels
Yeah, no.
that you founded.
Well, actually, I was lucky. Someone else in the room was like, "Hey, these guys are your progeny," so I didn't have to awkwardly bring it up myself,
Yeah.
which was nice.
It's always nice to have that person around, you know.
Yeah, and but apparently they were aware that the group was at one point called the Portage County Players before it
Mm.
was changed to Black Squirrel Improv Troupe.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, yeah, I get why it got changed because because I mean, like in fairness, like half the time we just called ourselves the PCP. Uh,
Hmm.
so like it was like the bit. It was a bit.
The Black Squirrels is a cooler name though, I think.
Well, wasn't as some of the members were have been a little bit. Some of members were a little disappointed to hear about it, but
Well, disappointed to hear about what?
the change of the name. We
Why?
can we considered ourselves pretty punk rock at the time, I guess.
Okay. Why were people upset about was it because they couldn't use the name PCP anymore?
No, I have no idea why they changed it.
Okay.
What I mean is just like some of the members, as they heard afterwards, as they changed the name, they were kind of some older members were a little disappointed to hear it had been changed. Which I get.
Why did they change it?
I have no idea. I assume because of the drug reference. But I don't know.
I get what you're
But
saying.
like
Are
I
they
don't know.
still are they
I've
still
never asked
called
them.
are they still called the Black Squirrels?
They're still called the Black Squirrel
Okay.
Improv Troupe,
Oh, okay.
which means that improv continues at Kent State University, and I'm thrilled about that.
Awesome.
Something
And you're doing stuff with Marissa too. That's awesome.
yeah, me and
Yeah.
Marissa.
Great.
We got nominated for Cleveland Improv Comedy Award.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, no,
Congratulations, man.
we
That's
didn't
cool.
win.
That's all right.
Uh, it,
Those things are rigged anyways.
I mean, the thing is that the majority of the people voting are stand-up comedians,
Mm.
and like the same improv troupe that won last year won this year, and it's like they've got like over 13 players. So like
Mm.
at a certain point, you're like that almost sways the vote in their direction.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But
But
hey, man, it's all good.
yeah,
We
no,
don't do this stuff to get nominated and win awards.
yeah, but it would be nice.
It
No,
would be.
but
Yeah. It would.
last night I did a show called The Gauntlet where you had to do 3 minutes of stand up, 3 minutes of solo sketch character, and then you do improv with some people.
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I could have
Yeah.
used the $200, but
Oh, no, oh, was it voted
it was voted on by the audience.
okay.
I can't deny the guy who won. I thought his character and stand up were both very good.
Mhm.
I just would have really liked to have $200
We could all
and
go
the
for
recognition of an
$200.
audience.
Yes. Where was that at?
Also, that's also an imposters theater. Most of the stuff I do is imposters theater these days.
And where is Imposters at? Is that up in
It is in
Cleveland?
Ohio City,
Yeah, cool. I love yeah, cool. Ohio City's cool.
a beautiful city of
Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah. I remember, man, this is about 20 years ago. Um, I was dating somebody who lived in Lakewood, and we were meeting up friends in Ohio City. And this is sort of before Tremont and Ohio City kind of became trendy.
Okay.
And we had a hard time trying to find because my now ex's friend was like, "Yeah, we're meeting down in Ohio City." And we're like, "Where's that?" And we're coming from Lakewood, and we're like driving around, and we stopped somebody, and we asked them like they were like, where's Ohio City at?" This is before Google Maps, okay? This is like 2005, you know. And this person was like, you're in Ohio and it's a city. And like absolutely no help whatsoever. We're like, okay, thanks, man. And we just kept driving. I mean, we eventually found where we were going anyways. I think it was off of the place was off of West 25th, I think it was. It was not too far from the West Side Market, but like honestly, we had no idea where we were going. Now people say Ohio City and you're like, "Oh yeah, I know Ohio City."
Yeah, Ohio City's pretty nice.
That's not, yeah, yeah. Yeah. How's Akron, man?
Um, Akron is relatively good. There's not quite as much. I have. I feel like I'm not sure if there's any like real central events that draw the community together like there used to be.
Hmm.
But like, there's still stuff. There are still people doing stuff.
Cool.
Point of No Return is still doing improv out of the Rialto.
Nice.
Uh, that's going well. We're hoping
Okay.
to team up. We actually might be. I don't want to jinx anything, and maybe I shouldn't say anything. But there's a theater company we're talking to that we might end up teaming up with, which would be
Great.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, the Rialto, I really like that place. It's got that nice whatchamacallit outside, the what do they call that? Facade, the
Marquee.
marquee, the
Yeah.
marquee. Yeah, I like that marquee they have.
Yep.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I kind of miss the EP cooker community,
Same.
kind of it was an opportunity for kind of everybody to get together and collaborate and see each other's art. It was yeah, it was a really kind of a cool, unique time.
It really was.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
was.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah, no, it was like the 60s.
Way
But like the way we imagine the 60s, man.
yeah, man. Everybody would just get together and everybody would just vibe.
Yeah, man. It was like a happening.
It was a happening
Kind of
time. If you were
was. Kind of
if
was
you
a
were
happening.
if you were anybody in town, man, you were at the EP cooker, man.
Yeah. There was a
Yeah.
period of time where it was like that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the place to
Uh,
be. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it would be good to have like something like that,
mhm.
in a city. I think those gathering sort of opportunities are really important. I think there was a lot of cross things that were happening there, and I think it's healthy for an arts community to have that sort of thing. Um, you know, just to get people in the same room together and get people talking, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, man, I can't believe that was like 10 years ago. No,
Good
it's a little
Lord.
crazy. I know. That's wild. It's wild to me.
Time is just, oh my God. I feel so old.
I too. I am 42. I turned 42 this year. And like
Well,
I have
you still look good for 42, man.
thank you, man. I don't I'm just lucky right now, I guess.
Like,
But luckily, like, I have my health. I'm able to still move around. Still go to the gym and work out and do stuff relatively pain free. But man, life it kind of sucks. Like I'm looking to buy a house right now, and It's super hard trying to buy a house. It's everything's just so expensive and so overpriced.
Hmm.
Um, these last 5 years, just inflation and it's the sad thing is like I've been working more in accounting and doing more taxes now because my cost of living has just gotten have just skyrocketed.
Oh man.
And I'm I like admittedly I guess I'm working more doing my day job than I'm doing like art stuff.
Hmm.
Just because I need money to survive.
Yeah.
And I need money to pay bills
Yep.
and I would like to buy a house.
Yep.
But the living that I'm earning doing accounting and taxes
Hmm.
is not quite enough to afford a single family home, a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, like ordinary home, like just whatever. Like I can't afford to take on that mortgage by myself. So I would either have to get like a co-signer, I'd have to get a roommate, or I'd have to get married. And that's like the situation that a lot of people our age are in, where like we're trying to start a family and there are so many, or like not necessarily that I'm trying to start a family. I just want to buy a home because I'm really just fucking tired of renting, you know? And I can't. And you know,
Hmm.
it's not for lack of trying. And I'm doing one of those safe jobs that everybody tells you should do. Like you know what I mean? Like don't be an artist, go to school and get a background in something that'll pay you a decent wage and give you benefits and all that stuff. And that's what I'm doing and I can't get ahead. It's just right now everything's just it's tough. It's tough for a lot of people out there. And I mean, relatively speaking, it's like I still have a roof over my head. I still can go to the store and get groceries. I'm still doing like okay. But it's just trying to get to that, trying to get just to that next place. It's proving a little difficult. And so what I'm saying, that whole big thing, I'm in my 40s right now. I have a little bit different priorities. Like I'm trying to invite a little bit more stability into my life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know. I'm not trying to buy a house.
Yeah.
Be fair though, that's because I'm poor as hell. Uh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm
Well,
not sure what the future looks like.
yeah,
I won't lie. I don't know what the future looks like.
it's it's
Concern.
it's yeah. Well, I mean, you have a place to live
I do have a
and
place to live.
and you
I do
yeah.
have access to things that I need.
Hmm.
So on a certain level, I'm doing okay. There are people doing far worse than I.
Right.
We
But I
got
mean, at the same time, it doesn't have to be this way. You know,
yeah, yeah, no. We are our society we have we have bought too far into the idea that market solutions will solve everything. We are currently looking at a situation where our society is about to heavily push itself towards I assume this is where they're going with this in the government, which is privatization. Um, and yeah, privatization has very mixed results, as there are lots of things where the added bureaucracy of privatization, because privatization is not less bureaucracy, just it is at best lateral bureaucracy.
yeah.
And it's just a series of people don't understand. It's a series of middlemen that just get added to the purchase of everything.
You
Like that's
know,
kind of the
I
thing.
case in point, like well, we could talk about health insurance, but I talk about my profession, what I do. Like, I file people's taxes. And, you know, if and people pay me to do it, and I'm not like begrudging that or anything like that, but if we were to actually fund the IRS and they actually became a service, you could probably hire, like the government could hire some of these CPAs, and the government could run like its own tax service where people would come and they would get their taxes done and they could do it for free. And it would just be an additional tax that you would have to pay, whatever, if you have to heighten the tax or you have to reallocate some of the taxes or something like that to pay for those sort of benefits. Because the thing is you're going to pay for it one way or the other. You're going to either pay for it
Huh?
through an additional tax or you're going to pay for it by paying somebody to do your tax return for you.
Hmm.
So I think there is a message that is hard to get across to people that like, hey, you're paying this no matter what. And it's the same thing that Bernie Sanders says when he talks about Medicare for all. It's the same sort of idea. Instead of paying your insurance company monthly premiums, you're paying an additional tax to the government and they're administering it. And the hope is that the government can work. And I think that that's part of the crux of the problem is that people don't have faith that the government can work.
Well, that's because there's basically been a movement of right wing and corporatists,
Yeah.
or like since the 70s,
Yep.
to like essentially try to push the narrative that government doesn't work to
Yeah.
the people like at a nonstop rate.
And it's
And,
and it's worked. It has
yeah,
worked.
and it's alarming. People
Yeah.
don't realize how much the government does or how much value the government has.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, there are times where the government
Of
does
course.
operate inefficient, but that you're going to have that with any system. You're going to
Yeah.
have things that just don't operate efficiently.
Yeah, because efficiency itself is part of a learning process. You have to constantly refine to get truly efficient.
And another thing about taxes too, and I don't want to interrupt. I think that our modern economy has evolved that to a place where our current tax system and the way that the IRS administers the tax system is not quite caught up to it. Like
It's
the
being
tax
held back
code,
deliberately.
what's that?
It's being held back deliberately. There are I forget. I think it might be California or some state figured out that like the IRS has all the information they need to
Yeah.
send you a pre-filled out form that you just have to sign.
Yeah.
And but they don't, because the tax like people like TurboTax and all these other companies make so much money doing it. Side
Yeah.
note, TurboTax is absolutely fucking me this year, and I'm probably gonna be the last year I ever used it.
Well, you should use Free Tax USA.
I realize that now.
Yeah.
I could try and redo all my taxes, but they're due I think Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
You got
is
to get
it is
that
it
got to
is
get
it
that in.
wait, hold on, just to be clear, are they due by Tuesday at 11:59 a.m.? I mean, sorry, p.m. or are they due Monday at 11?
No, they're due Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. You have the entire day of the 15th to files
Okay,
and pay. Yeah.
I have to decide if how much a TurboTax wants to charge me is
How
worth.
much are they charging you?
I'm gonna fuck around with it and see if I can get it down, but I think they tried to charge me $200,
What?
and that's more than my tax return.
Dude, I would have done your return for 150 bucks.
That would still be more than my return.
Right, 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 right. But I mean the reason why you do TurboTax yourself is so you don't have to pay a preparer to do it for you.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm gonna take another look at it, see what I did wrong.
Uh,
Because I had to file a 1099, is that why I'm fucked?
well, you if are they saying you have to file a Schedule C?
I don't think so. I'm gonna have to get back into it. Is it because I deducted costs? Is that what it is?
It might be, but they shouldn't be charging you 200 bucks for that. Like
Okay.
I feel like that should only be like 50, but maybe they up their rates.
I'll take another look at it, but I
Do
need.
free, dude. I'm telling you, do Free Tax USA. It's the same sort of interface. Like,
Okay.
so the use of the program is the same. And the only thing you have to pay, I think you get a Schedule C, but the only thing you have to pay is I think like 15 or 20 bucks for your state return to the state of Ohio.
So yeah, they do it to us on purpose. They do it to us on purpose. They could fix that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's just too much money.
Too much money to be made on keeping it private. And yeah, 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 that checks out.
Just like everything else.
Just like, yeah.
I used
Yeah.
I used to work in insurance. So I know a lot. I know a lot about the insurance. And like the thing is that people don't realize like how many people are getting paid from your premium.
Yeah.
That premium you pay goes to like a lot
It's a it's a middleman. They're and they operate kind of like the mafia.
of. Mhm.
Like they're basically a middleman. And if we could have a government system that works, that operates more efficiently, that people could trust, then I think it would save us money in the long run than to have these private corporations. You have middlemen. Not only do they, pay people for their jobs, but also you got to pay the stockholders and the all the all the dividends and all the investment return and everything like that.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
so so like a large port so like if you're a private agent, you are going to get a residual from a plan for as long as they pay it.
Hmm.
I I worked for like I'm not sure what the technical term for it would be, but like essentially I worked in a call center. There was a company that licensed me. I was I was in this sort of larger pool of people.
Hmm.
And the way and I could be so essentially I would get a piece of their premium like on their third check, that like third payment.
Hmm.
Like the company I worked for would get like a residual. I'd get a bonus for the third check, and then a certain amount of that money would go to the insurance company themselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so it was they would tell you that if a person paid with a money order that you wouldn't get a bonus. Um, but that's just because people who pay with money orders actually don't uh, rarely keep up with their payments. Um,
Uh,
but
okay.
I counted my bonuses, and I actually got paid for a few of those money order ones, and I was like, haha. You,
Sticking it to the man.
yeah, because they did not want me to. They did not want me. They did not want me to accept money orders. Money orders are the debit card of crime.
Oh man. That's another scam too. Money orders
Yeah,
and these like payday loan places too.
yeah, they exist to take advantage of poor people.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
I
Yeah.
I am 100%. I am like I think that there are acceptable things that you can rent to own,
Hmm.
but the second I like almost moments within the first time I ever went inside an errands, like I immediately knew it was a scam.
What's an errands?
Errands is a rent to own furniture and appliance store.
Oh.
And the thing that tipped me off as a longtime gamer was I was looking through their catalog because, of course, they got video game systems and TVs and like DVD players and stuff. But I'm looking through the catalog. They had a Nintendo Wii, and I have to stress this is not the first year Nintendo Wii came out. The Wii had been out for at least 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years at this point. That thing sold for a while, and but
Uh,
the total cost, according to their own literature, that you would pay for a Nintendo Wii, a system that cost like $150, the total cost to you by the time you had rented it to completion would be $1,000.
oh my God. That's insane.
Yeah,
That is ridiculous.
arguably not the largest amount of money, but when you think about how much more, like you could
Oh,
have bought a, you
to
could have bought,
scale.
yeah, you could have bought like a used Wii for like a fraction of that.
Well, and it's well,
Like you could
yeah,
probably have
it's
gotten a used Wii for $99.
well, but I thought you were going the other way, like $1,000, like is that much? But if you get enough people to do that, then you start. Oh my God.
And if that's the inflation on a fucking Nintendo system, like what's going to be the inflation on a couch? And you have to take into account that when they repossess these things from people, they just go back on the store shelves. They go to sell this stuff again.
Yeah. Yeah, they might clean it off and then that's it. Um, the vast majority of the American people do not understand finance and loans and inflation and interest rates. Um, this is how the student loan people get 18-year-olds who have not taken a finance class yet and do not understand the time value of money and what they're getting into. But I would say the vast majority of adults don't understand how that works
Mm-hmm.
either.
Yeah.
Um, you're paying like that interest rate on that Wii. What is that? That's like a million% or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's
Uh,
absolutely ridiculous.
yeah.
Why would you pay $1,000 for something that costs $150? And you know what? I guess somebody's
And
doing
I,
it because they're putting it in their catalog. If they weren't making money off of it, they wouldn't be doing that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So somebody's paying that money.
Because it's only a few dollars a month is the thing. So
But
it,
how, oh my God, what are you paying that for? Like 5 years?
mhm. Yeah, no, it's probably, that's a good question. I can't remember what the total price is. It's probably something like $20 a month or something.
That's ridiculous.
But like, yeah, no, it's
No,
nonsense. It's a poverty trap. Renting
yeah.
furniture and appliances to own them is a poverty trap. You are better off going to a store that sells used products.
Or, I mean, some stores give you no interest loans, like Best Buy. I got a dryer a couple of years ago, and I think I paid like $700 for it. And I just paid, I think, like 100 or $150 a month, and it was a no interest loan. All I did was I just had to pay off the cost of that $700 over a certain time period.
Was there
So
like
that's another way to go.
interest?
Huh?
Was there so there was no interest?
There was no interest.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a definitely. Oh my God, that's good to know. Like anyone who's thinking about going to an errand should do that instead. Oh
So
my
maybe
God.
check out well, this was Best Buy, and I don't know if you have to have a certain credit level
That's
in order to
fair.
get that kind
That's
of a
fair.
deal.
I don't know if Aaron checks your credit.
They probably don't.
Yeah.
They probably don't. But yeah, you know what? And
There's also
I
Rent a Center, which is the same as an Aaron's.
I will shop Facebook Marketplace or Nextdoor app before I buy retail. I just did it today. I just bought a lawnmower because I got to mow my yard. And I had a whatchamacallit uh one of those manual ones that like, they
Oh
don't run
yeah,
on
yeah.
gas or anything.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That like I'm trying
You
to
want to get
trying to be a
those
little bit more eco-friendly, but it really sucks.
you want to get those farmer
Yeah, dude.
ones.
Yeah, I feel like Abraham Lincoln over here, like plowing a field. Um so yeah, I was messaging just everybody. And then the other thing you got on Facebook Marketplace, you have scams there too.
True.
You message people and like they're not who they say they are. They're just like phishing or they're catfishing. That's what it's called. Catfishing.
Mhm.
They're just trying to get your information. And yeah, but I was lucky. I found somebody today, got a used one. It runs. I cut the grass earlier today, so it was good.
I, I'm actually vaguely paranoid because someone in a comment linked me a link to Facebook on Facebook, and now I'm like, what if that was we? Like, what the fuck was that?
Do you know this person?
No,
Oh,
that's
hmm.
why. That's why I'm like, what was that?
Oh no.
Best
Oh
case
no.
scenario, he linked me a scam page that already got shut down, and that's why I didn't go anywhere.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't get that. I get the text messages,
Mhm.
you have a outstanding toll from like the Michigan Highway or something like that,
Mhm.
and click this link and follow to pay.
You have a package at the post office that is stuck. Shake.
Yep.
Um, oh my God. One of the worst things, the most annoying thing that I've run into is on the dating apps is
Yeah.
that almost every single it's almost a pattern. It started having to be on Facebook, but slightly different. Um, on dating apps, frequently I will match with attractive Asian women who I would normally say are probably out of my league. And then they will start messaging me. It'll go fine on the app, and then they'll be like, "Hey, I would prefer to talk to you on Telegram or WhatsApp." And then you go over to Telegram or WhatsApp, and suddenly they want to talk to you about crypto a lot.
Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
yep, they're crypto scammers. Crypto
The
scammers
crypto scammers.
are looking they like a
You
couple.
know, I've gotten a couple of those too. I just turn it back on them and I just like, well, hey, why don't you invest in my cryptocurrency? And I
Now, some of them are hilarious to talk to, though.
Okay.
I got into a straight up fight with this one woman person scammer.
Okay, we don't
We
know.
don't know. We don't know
Yeah.
what they are.
It
Uh,
could be a bot.
yeah, no, it could be. Although, to be fair, this person actually was like kind of arguing with me, so like it might have been a person.
Okay.
But like the argument we got into was over how the national debt works
Okay. Oh
and
wow.
how
That's
like
interesting.
foreign debt works. And they like kept throwing they threw out this debt number, and I looked it up and I was like, no, that's actually not the correct that's not our level of debt. Our debt is actually this, and only this percentage of it is foreign. And they're like, well, yeah, no. And they said, and they were like, I said like 40 million, like 40 trillion.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, no, it was 35, buddy. And but basically they started I basically explained to them like why what they were saying was not true about American foreign debt, and they were like, what, you're saying the government just borrows money from themselves? That's crazy. And I was like, yes, that is exactly what happens. So like whoever they didn't know much about actual like world finances.
I'm surprised they're even Americans.
I don't. They probably aren't, to be completely honest with you. I think they
Yeah,
just grabbed like numbers off the internet or that they were given in a script, maybe.
maybe. Or
Uh,
your number got added to some sort of data dump or something like that somehow.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and somebody sold your number, and that's why
Well,
you're getting those phone calls or the
this
text
person,
messages.
this person claimed to be French. Wait, no, I'm confusing them with a different person.
Oh.
I did, however, on Facebook, four an attractive lady started messaging me. And as soon as I recognized they were crypto scammers, I started talking to but like they do not want to admit to be they will not admit to being crypto scammers. Like
Hmm.
they'll be like, "What? No. Okay, I don't need to talk to you about crypto."
Well, I think crypto scammer is superfluous because I think crypto is a scam inherently.
The one who I was arguing with about the national debt, their deal was they wanted me to sign up with this specific crypto wallet. And when I looked it up, it was a crypto wallet that was actually like noted for like its security problems. And I was like,
Unbelievable.
okay.
Unbelievable. I'm actually really kind of concerned about how the federal government is dealing with crypto right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really concerned that they are going to intertwine uh, Federal Reserve into crypto, and I just ugh, if we bail out crypto, I am going to lose my shit
Well, here's the
if there
thing.
is a crypto bailout.
Well, here's the thing, though, because now, to be fair, I am no crypto expert, but based on my limited understanding of how crypto works, based on my limited understanding of it, if they were to do this, they would essentially basically like just implode the crypto market because the government
Really?
would just be forced to continuously buy more crypto. Because the thing is that when you buy massive amounts of crypto at one time, you are inflating the cost of crypto totally.
Hmm.
So like if the government were to actually buy the amounts of crypto they were talking Donald Trump was talking about buying, like the cost of a Bitcoin would go through the roof, but then people would cash in at the same time and then crash it
Hmm.
because then everyone would want to trade their Bitcoin for actual money.
Right.
And like it's because it's the same things that happens with like stocks and bonds and shit. And it's not going to be sustainable because the government will just keep having to buy it to balance it out. All the government's crypto is related to siege they seized it from criminals. That's like
Yeah.
all the crypto the government has right now. Any crypto that is in the government's reserves is from being seized from criminal organizations. And
Hmm.
so that's okay though for the government to do it that way because that doesn't inflate the price of crypto.
Hmm.
But if they were to suddenly like invest in crypto in a way that no private citizen possibly could, that would be nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what that would mean. I have to look into that, see what the
Because it,
whatchamacallit repercussions would be.
because it's like because crypto's value is based on its supply and demand, which is weird for a I mean, I guess currency has that sort of built into it to a certain degree, but like crypto is simultaneously a stock, a commodity, and a currency.
Exactly, and that's the problem with it. And the reason why it doesn't work as any of those things is because it's not widely accepted as a currency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't go to the grocery store and use Bitcoin to buy groceries.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to trade it in for cash. Now, there are some places that accept Bitcoin as a form of payment, but it's not widely accepted yet. So that's the thing about Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency. It's got to be widely accepted. And then people, yeah, they speculate on it,
Mm-hmm.
and so it trades like an asset, but like it's we've had this conversation before. It's not backed by anything. Those crypto companies don't produce a product or a service. They just create more code.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Ponzi scheme because like what you're saying with the government, I think if I'm understanding it correctly, I think if everybody decides to get out of crypto, like hypothetically speaking, just like with a Ponzi scheme, if people start calling in their money, the everything crashes, everything falls apart. That's what a Ponzi scheme is. A Ponzi scheme really gets exposed when people are like, hey, you know what? And when everybody who is invested into the pool is like, hey, I need my money out, and there's no money there. So with crypto, if people start taking their money out of crypto and there's no money, then it'll fall apart. And it sounds like kind of like what you're talking about is going to happen if the federal government starts
Mm-hmm.
backing it or purchasing it or doing whatever.
Yeah, because if they purchase it, that's gonna make the price just skyrocket.
And then you're right, everybody's gonna sell, or at least most people will probably sell to get out to make their money. And then they're gonna trade it in for cash, and then it's gonna become worthless.
Because I only learned recently like what the real deal is with like how crypto is like manufactured. Because
Yeah.
it is like they call it crypto mining
Yeah.
or bit mining or whatever they call it.
Yeah, it's a blockchain, and basically what it is,
Yeah.
it's just complicated computer code.
Yeah. So essentially, like they're creating unique numbers, and each unique number equals one of whatever that crypto is. And then
Yeah.
people can buy, and then the people who've mined it sell it on the crypto exchange to people as currency. It's
Yeah. 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 It's wild. It's wild.
and and Trump managed to get a lot of crypto bros on board with him just by talking about this shit.
Oh yeah. Well, he did his own crypto scam right before the
Yeah.
election. Yeah.
There's actually a
Yeah.
lot of people are speculating that his cryptocurrency is just a way to launder money.
Yeah. I
a
believe
way
that.
to
It's a
like donate money to him unchecked.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. He is running things like a mob boss.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taking payment and tribute from people. Hey, you don't want me to mess with you? All right, fine, pay me. You don't want me to tariff you? Okay, fine. We'll lower the tariffs to this percentage. I'll take 1% of that difference, and then you could yeah, and they're laundering the money through the crypto operation. I 100% believe that. I 100% believe that. Yeah.
Yep.
What and more and more people are just going to do it. And it's not going to stop with Trump, you know?
It will not.
Yeah.
Not
Maybe that's what we should do, Ruben. We should start our own cryptocurrency.
a cryptocurrency.
A cryptocurrency, yeah. We should give it a name that everybody would hate too, like inclusive crypto or something. DEI crypto.
Equity bit.
Equity, equity bit.
Although to be fair,
That's still a little
equity
too,
sounds too banky already.
it sounds too banky. Yeah, yeah.
Because equity means nothing different in finance.
Diverse a bit or diversoge. I don't
Woke,
know.
woke coin.
Woke coin, yes. Yeah. I like it. Woke coin.
Yeah. It'll be very unwoke because of all the electricity it drains from the
Yeah.
system.
Environmentally friendly. A green coin. Green New Deal coin.
Oh man. Could you get enough solar panels to power a a a crypto mine? The,
Like one of those big mega centers where they actually have the servers running to mine the
yeah.
crypto.
I mean, what's crazy is like how people just like make their own crypto mining rigs.
Uh-huh.
Like there was I think it was either Ukraine or Russia, but there was this incident where like they realized that someone was stealing electricity from the city. And so like they ended up raiding this place. And what they found was like three to 500 PlayStation 3s that had all been set up to mine crypto, had all been modified to mine crypto.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Oh my
They
God.
apparently they still don't know what it was for, but they suspect like a criminal or like terrorist organization.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's crazy.
I mean it's Russia or
Yep. Well,
possibly
there you
Ukraine.
go.
Somewhere in
Or
there. It's
Ukraine.
one of those Slavic countries.
No, no,
But yeah.
yeah. Maybe it was what the fuck is Andrew Taint from? Where's he from?
Andrew Tate is has dual citizenship in America and the UK.
UK, but wasn't he in like Romania or something
He
like that?
moved
Wasn't
to
that?
Romania once he figured out that he was probably going to get busted for all his fucked up deeds living in
I
the
thought he did a
UK.
lot of that stuff in Romania.
He did do a lot of stuff in Romania, but he went to Romania because there were already allegations against him in the UK.
What an asshat.
And he specifically said when he moved to Romania that it was because they didn't seem Romania didn't seem to care as much about catching like people for he would describe as accusations or something. It's like, oh wow.
Wow. Wow. Well, they got him anyways.
And he also made the statement that like it was a country where he could afford to be corrupt. And it was like, oh my God. And yet people loved Andrew Tate. It was fucking crazy.
It's crazy. I do not get that. There's so many things happening right now in our
Well,
culture that I just do not understand.
well, you see, men have become sad and lonely and haven't been diagnosed with the what is probably autism or ADHD that they've struggled with their whole lives.
Mm.
And so these lonely, undiagnosed men just struggle through life, not realizing that their uncertainty is probably part of a personality disorder they should be getting looked into. And then they get brought in by what appear to be these replacement father figures like Andrew Tate. And a lot of people, a lot of people don't really understand complex social dynamics. So when a guy is talking about just being the toughest guy in the room, that's something that their lizard ape brains can kind of process,
Mm,
and a lot of them are kids. Andrew Tate was
mm.
very popular amongst like teen and preteen boys.
Yep.
There's hilarious clips of it on the internet, which you've probably seen. Like there's
Actually, I don't think I have.
there's this one video of this teenage boy, very awkward, almost definitely on some type of spectrum.
Mm.
But he's got a long black coat and he looks real skinny, and he's talking to his teacher, and he tells his teacher, and he's yelling at his teacher that he is the alpha, and therefore the teacher cannot send him to the principal. And like he just keeps trying to say that, and he's like, yeah, well, whatever, you're going to the principal. And it's like, it's unreal. It's unreal. Like, because people who are into Andrew Tate think that you need to establish dominance to like accomplish things. It's
Mm.
weird. Hey, have you,
Yeah.
speaking of which, have you seen the movie The Apprentice?
No, with what's his name? Sebastian Shaw?
Sebastian
Sebastian Stan.
Stan.
Yeah,
Sebastian
no,
Stan.
I've not. Is it good?
Yes. Yes, it
Okay.
is very good. And honestly, like, I don't know how much of the movie is true, but if even like 10 to 20% of that movie is true, then like it explains a lot about Donald Trump.
Well, I think the whole thing about, his, and I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard things about his protege. Was it Roy
Roy
Cohn?
Cohn. Yeah.
Roy Cohn, like his whole thing of like never admit defeat, like
Yeah.
that was a documented like sort of thing. Like that's true. And that
Okay.
explains a lot about Donald Trump and who he is.
In the movie, they go over Roy Cohn's three rules for life, and they are attack, 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 always be attacking, and deny, 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 never admit to anything, and always be declaring victory.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's like, wow. Like, because those are like actually like wildly, like, that's basically like a postmodernist take on power. Like,
Okay.
that is what that is. Like,
Mm.
Donald Trump is our first postmodernist president. Just
Mm.
wild, because like literally for years we had to listen to people like fucking Jordan Peterson talk about how all the postmodern Marxists are coming to get us. And
Oh,
like
well,
the
the
whole time,
feminist Nazis are at my front door and they're telling me that I'm not allowed to say this word or that word. And I asked them, what does this word mean? And they couldn't give me a right answer that I could quite understand in my brain.
like, that's the thing too, is that like a lot of times Jordan Peterson is pretty postmodern himself. And
Mm.
like when you look at his like lists of people that like inspired him, it's like this is a weird list. Like Nietzsche is on that list. Like
Hmm.
Nietzsche is apparently one of Jordan Peterson's favorite philosophers, and that's like, okay, that's an interesting one considering all the things you claim to be in favor of. Another one he had was George Orwell, and it's like, I don't think you actually understand George Orwell's politics, man.
Well, I I think Jordan Peterson also is a lunatic. Like
Yeah.
I think like it probably the things do not add up because the guy's got some like I think he had a psychotic break maybe about 6 7 years ago.
What's great,
Perhaps.
what's wild is apparently like the whole time he was a college professor, there were apparently like a lot of problems the university had with him.
Really?
Yeah, no, like apparently some of his like social study like experiments and stuff were considered unethical.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's pretty crazy.
Oh, so this isn't a new thing.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, there might be a little bit of a new thing. I do know he was at one point an alcoholic, and that at one point he was
Yeah.
addicted to barbiturates.
Mm,
And like barbiturate detox is apparently pretty intense, and so he
mm,
apparently went. I forget where he went. It's somewhere in Europe or maybe even Eurasia, but he
mm.
went there to get put into a medically induced coma so he could get off of barbiturates.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, he's an interesting guy, and like when Jordan Peterson, I've talked to you about this before, but when Jordan Peterson describes like his childhood and like stuff and like developmental stories from his life, it's like very clearly like, oh, you've just been struggling with your masculinity your entire life, sir. Like he's clearly a very like from his own description, he is like he was an effeminate man growing up in like the rough and tumble, super masculine, like rural Canada.
I think I remember hearing about something where he went on some sort of internship, like in a logging camp or a coal miner camp or
I think it
something
was a
like that.
quarry or something.
Yeah, maybe a quarry. I vaguely remember hearing
Yeah,
a story about that. I can't remember if you said it on one of your podcast episodes
I
or
did do one on that story. Yeah, it was
okay.
like it was all about how that was his story on why a certain amount of workplace bullying is important.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, what an see, there you go. Like that to me, what that says to me is you have somebody who had trauma
Mm-hmm.
and hasn't quite coped with it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's manifesting itself in this sort of way.
I think I think the other secret is that I don't think he ever really cared about being a psychologist or a therapist. Like if you think
Would he
about
just want
it,
to be famous?
like he went into academia instead of like I mean like he had patience apparently or had patience. But
Oh,
like
he wanted to be a teacher, is what you're saying? He
what I'm
just chose a
saying is that
field.
I think Jordan Peterson wanted to be viewed as an intellectual because an
Uh,
intellectual is the only other thing a man can be if he isn't masculine.
ah, okay.
Like
That's what a weird way of looking at the world.
mhm.
Huh.
Toxic masculinity, man.
That is very toxic. Yeah, it's a very toxic mindset. It's unfortunate. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate. Turning it back, I like over the years, I've sort of come to realize some of the toxic masculinity that sort of invades my thought process.
Mhm.
Like sometimes even at a subconscious level, you know,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
realize that like some things that you're just like, oh fuck, why do I think this way? You don't really question that. I think and there's a lot of people that go through life just not questioning the way they think. you
Yeah.
know
Mm-hmm.
not like why do I think this way. They really have very little sort of reflection in that way, and
Agreed.
they don't go to see a therapist, they don't go talk to anybody. It's and sometimes these people for somehow they get into leadership positions and they can and they become financially successful because and they pass those traits down, and then people look up to them and be like, ah, that's the way you have to be. In order to be successful, you need to be this way.
Mm-hmm. Great example, Elon Musk.
Oh my God. Oh God.
Elon Musk. No, he is the worst.
He is literally the worst. Like on live, like a live broadcast saying that empathy is a weakness.
And then weeks later, he's just sad because no one likes his cars.
Why are people not liking my cars? It's oh my God. There's a guy also, probably he is on the spectrum, right? He is neurodiverse.
I mean,
Yeah.
supposedly he came out on an episode of SNL and claimed to have Asperger's. And yes,
Mm,
he claimed it was Asperger's.
mm.
And people say that wasn't a Nazi salute. But but my understanding, and I could be wrong, my understanding is he has never been formally diagnosed.
Uh-huh.
And in fairness to all autistic people everywhere, there are other conditions that can sort of display similarly to autism.
Gotcha.
And some of
Yeah.
those are the scary ones.
Yeah.
Like sociopaths will also learn to mask and some of them aren't. And the difference between us, and typically one of the differences between a psychopath and a sociopath is that a sociopath is less likely to be emotionally stable.
Hmm.
Because psychopaths are typically like kind of even keeled, even though they are scary.
I think the reason why I was making the connection there is we're in our previous earlier in the conversation, we were talking about young people
Mhm.
who may be neurodiverse, who might lack a father figure. They look up to certain people, and
Mhm.
like Andrew Tate.
Mhm.
But I mean,
There's
Elon
definitely
Musk
people.
isn't looking up to Andrew Tate, but I'm wondering who Elon Musk's role models were.
It's a great question. He comes from a really weird, fucked up family.
Yeah.
He's got a
He's got
father,
a Nazi grandfather, right?
a Nazi grandfather. His
Yeah.
parents were both part of South African apartheid. His father was an alcoholic who was very violent to his mother. His father and him also, hilariously, his father continues to call Elon Musk out on social media for some of the things that Elon Musk lies about. Um, like the most famous one being is that Elon Musk's father, I mean, sorry, Elon Musk tried to deny the emerald mine thing, and he
Uh,
like, I will give $10 million to anyone who can prove the emerald mine thing. And then
uh,
his father responded to him on Twitter, "Can I get that $10 million?" uh
that's so fucking weird.
yeah, and his father also married like his stepdaughter.
Oh, I did hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
while it's funny he calls out Elon Musk, he himself is not great.
Yeah. Oh man.
So yeah, they're fam. I mean, plus he was part of apartheid, and
Yeah.
used like that to his advantage to make lots of money on emeralds.
Man, what an absolutely terrible human being.
Yeah, and Elon Musk, it's been confirmed, tries to make like his life growing up in America when he came here sound harder than it actually was.
Hmm.
A number of people have called him out on that. He's been caught cheating at video games.
Oh, I see the video game stuff. This last week, like I guess he got caught again and he kind of rage quit.
Well, that one, that I don't know if they caught him doing anything, but like
Oh, people
essentially,
were trolling. People were
yeah,
trolling
no,
him.
like he had a nonstop barrage of people in the comments section just like hating on him.
Well, fuck him, dude.
No,
He's the richest man in the world. Fuck him.
I mean, the only thing to be, no, you can't let yourself think of that. I was about the only thing to be afraid of is that now he's going to go do something really crazy. But like the thing is that everything he's been doing is crazy, and like you can't just let him get away with continuing to do crazy.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah, but how is that going to happen is the question.
It's a good question. I do it, but it does, but it does concern me though that people look up to Elon Musk. Like,
Yeah. It concerns me that people, well, yeah, but you can't really do anything about that, because people look up to bad role models all the time,
yeah,
you know? Yeah, it is concerning. Well, it's also concerning from like it's concerning on multiple levels,
yeah,
because people think he's also a genius, when I mean
yeah,
he might very well be a very bright and very smart person, but he's also kind of reckless, you
yeah.
know?
No, I mean that's very clear. Um, I was just on another guy's YouTube show, and he was taking me through everyone that was in the Trump cabinet. I highly recommend checking out the episode of that.
Okay.
Should be in my
Well,
community tab.
okay. I'll check
Uh,
that out.
but it is his cabinet is fucking insane. Like
Yeah.
I don't even remember all the specifics, but like everyone in it is like straight up questionable.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all shady people. And he's just putting people around him that just say yes to him.
Yeah, which is a red flag.
Yeah,
A red flag for the country.
absolutely. Yeah. What a
And
scary time.
it is a very scary time.
What a scary time,
I
man.
I keep getting into interesting arguments with people about the vandalization of Tesla of Tesla like sales centers.
Yeah.
And like I just say like I don't support like general vandalism, but like it's also hard for me to get mad if no one is physically getting hurt. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like this is America. I can't just be like, well, vandalism's always wrong. Like because as long as no one dies, this is basically the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. That's one of those areas where it's in sort of like an ethical gray area, you know, because it's one of those things where I think, and I'm with you on like I typically just I don't like any sort of acts of violence, whether it's towards property or people. Rather it be towards property. Um, but I think there is an argument to be made, and whether it's fair or not, but the side that is doing the violence loses credibility when that violence is then when that violence is then reversed. So it sort of becomes a thing of like, what is the principle then? Because people don't understand nuance when you debate these
It's
ideas.
true.
So like this comes up often, like with the January 6th versus the Black Lives Matter protests, where people were like, well, people were violently protesting and destroying businesses and stuff like that. And it's like, well, it was a different context, it was a different situation. But I think if you give something
Also,
like that to the other side, it 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 can weaken your argument, you know?
no, I get what you're saying. Although I will say, some they really like to spread a lot of disinfo about the BLM things. Like
Yeah,
like they try to act like no one was held responsible, but like actually over 300 people ended up getting charged and indicted
yeah,
in those incidents. Like you can like
yeah.
there's government documents on it. You can look those up pretty easily.
Yeah, I have friends that were incarcerated when they were protesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that.
And also just like the other thing about that comparison is that like people don't really seem to understand like the difference like strategically between those events. It's very
No, no, they don't. But it doesn't matter. But normies don't even like
yeah, that's
you're
true.
not going to win that. You're not going to win that argument with obviously with a MAGA Trump supporter. But if you got a normie in there that's just sort of like, well, both sides do this, they're gonna equal both of them. They're gonna hold both of those in their both hands. Like, well, I see violence here and I see violence there, so they're both the same to me.
Yeah, doesn't it suck that society is in this place where we always have to be considerate of this margin of our society that is just that stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, no, guys, I don't understand. They both seem the same to me. They are literal opposites on the spectrum, guy.
No, no. There is one that is very clearly much worse if you're paying attention. Yeah, it's very annoying. And I get really like I don't want to say triggered, but I do immediately when I have a conversation with somebody and somebody immediately starts saying, well, they don't do this right either. Democrats don't do this right and Republicans don't do this right. And I'm just like, okay, hold on. What are we talking about? What do you mean? And where are you attacking them from? I immediately go like, what do you mean? Because before in the past, I used to be like, yeah, you're probably right. But now I really try to like just ask them. I'm like, what side are you punching from? Because if you're punching from the left, I'm probably going to agree with you. If you're punching from the right, I like one of the things that really annoys me after this last election is the fact that, and you're having Democrats buying into it now, where they are throwing trans people under the bus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, y'all are taking the wrong lesson from this situation. It's not because Democrats and liberals and progressives are accepting of trans people. It is because they have forgotten to also talk about the working class. That is
Mhm.
it. If the Democrats, if Kamala Harris's campaign would have focused more on the working class, she might have had a shot. I'm not saying she would have won, but I think the results might have been better. And Gaza too. Like
Yeah. I
that situation, I think people are really underplaying the impact of that situation.
Yeah, no, I actually would say that I think that those things really are the kind of the things that shaped kind of the election. It was a
Yeah.
combination of like the economy, which is always a referendum on the people who are currently in power, regardless
Yes.
of the nuances of how the economy works.
Yeah.
Then you had the thing with Gaza and like possibly the worst time in history for like a lot of people to suddenly be like, I'm taking a stand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh
Oh, hey, I'm curious. What has Dr. Jill Stein said about the tariffs recently?
oh, I have
Has
no idea. I
yeah,
don't
you
hear
know
from
why
my
you don't hear from her? Because it's not a 4-year cycle. It's not a 4-year election cycle right now. You don't hear from that fucking woman when it's not an election year. There is nobody who likes the two-party system more than Dr. Jill Stein.
you think she just does it to grift?
Oh, it's a huge grift. If she actually cared, she would be working now to try to get people elected, to try and build a caucus throughout the country, to get people into like states and cities who are Green Party members. I don't see her or hear about her doing that work at all.
Yeah, no, I've never been into Jill Stein.
So sorry,
You're
I've
good.
derailed the
You're
conversation.
good. Like the thing that it does kill me though, because like there are some people on the left who like saw the Gaza thing and don't get me wrong, I would like them to stop killing people in Gaza as soon as possible. But like realistically, both candidates, we knew what to expect from their Gaza policies. And materially, just materially, this the outcomes for Miss for Harris were going to be better. Not what you wanted, not good, but like essentially they failed the trolley car because we had
Yeah.
a moment where we could flip the switch and people would still die, but probably less people. And instead, they were like, no, it is morally wrong for me to make a choice. And the trolley just kept moving.
Well, I think that's a symptom of a larger problem in this country because I think people don't understand electoral politics and they don't understand that our policy towards the Middle East and specifically Israel it's been set down like this for what 70, 80 years.
Mm-hmm,
And you're talking about having to do a complete 180 reversal
mm-hmm.
on policy. And that is not easy. Um, you know, could Biden have done something better? Could he have used the bully pulpit to threaten Netanyahu to make him stop? Yeah. You wonder why he didn't, because maybe he supported it, which is fucked up. But like he could have done what Reagan did. I think there was Reagan dig that is something he did that was kind of based back in the 80s when the same similar situation was happening. And Reagan was like, hey, we're if you keep doing this, we're not sending you any more military support. And then Israel stopped. I forget when this was, but I've heard it happening. I've heard it like multiple sources. I'd have to find out the source and cite that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I think people and it's like it's also a one there's a lot of people in this country I think that are one issue voters too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their one issue. And I am I am more okay with that than I am with somebody who's like, well, I'm not going to vote Democrat because they're pro-choice. You know,
Mhm.
I'll never vote Democrat unless they change their stance on abortion.
Yep.
No. But anyways, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
No.
But I do want to. So, like, this is the thing, though, is that the right wing has just been a pure propaganda machine for like the longest time now. And a lot of
Mm.
people might not understand this, but like everyone gets mad about George Soros, but like the Daily Wire and PragerU are both paid for by like fracking billionaires.
Yeah.
Like that's what fracking billionaires are the reason that those programs exist.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that.
No. No, because it they they are much better at PR than the left is.
Mm-hmm.
They're just for whatever reason the left just has not figured out the PR the key for PR.
Yeah, no.
Uh, yeah, and I mean, you had Elon Musk on stage. What was it at the Wisconsin election earlier this month, where people were like booing him, and he was like, "Oh, those are the George Soros paid people who came here to do that," and like you're literally doing what right wingers accuse George Soros of doing. The hypocrisy is like you
And
can
like
cut it with a knife.
and like they're all about and like now there's this heavy populist vibe in the Republican Party, and at the same time they're all like, yeah, the richest man in the world will save us. He'll save us from the elite. Like, he is definitionally the elite. Like, if there's anyone out here who could afford to hunt a human on an island, it's Elon Musk. Like, what is wrong with you? Like,
They don't think beyond what's in front of them. There's no questioning. There's no, okay, if this, then what? Okay, if that, then what?
and then they're all like in denial about the possibility that Trump could be a sex criminal. It's all
No, yeah, oh my
they're
God.
like,
That
no,
would
he's
make
a
their head
good
explode.
man, and it's like he literally one of the things you that locker room talk that you always are like defending of his was literally a story about how he a women will let rich and famous people just basically sexually assault them. B was part of a story where he's talking about trying to get this woman to cheat on her husband with him.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, what is happening? Like, you're confused that a man who would tell that story is the same guy who has had over 20 sexual assault allegations against him?
Hmm.
Like, what? Like, at least some of those are true. Like, even if any of them are fake, like statistically, some of those are real, man.
Right.
Like, you can't be surprised that a jury sided with her.
It's the level of denial is astounding. Astounding. And I like I don't have an answer for it. I don't know if anybody has an answer for it. The thing is like how does this play out? How does this play out? And that's the scary thing because usually something's going to have to collapse and fall before people get sort of smacked awake, you know?
Oh no, we're
Or
probably gonna have a Great Depression.
yeah, yeah, it'll probably happen economically. Um, but I don't know if that'll make people learn. I don't know if that'll make people learn because I have a feeling that JD Vance is going to be president of the United States someday.
And if he continues Trump's like policies,
Yeah,
gonna be fucked.
I know. I know. And you know, like I think people are have I've heard people on like podcast shows debate this about, because Trump's going to die. Um, I wonder if he's going to die like within this term. He keeps talking about running for a third term, but I mean, if he makes it, um,
Oh my
you know,
God. Can you imagine having a president with
the man will be 80 something years old at the or 82, 83 at the end of this term.
Mhm.
So like when he dies, who takes over MAGA? Or does it just fade or does it morph into something else? Like because I mean, I really can't imagine anybody else leading MAGA. I can see somebody sort of taking like a mutated form of it, and that's where I think JD Vance comes in,
Mhm.
and sort of leading their sort of movement off of it. But I don't know how popular it's going to be.
Well, JD Vance could just pull a Stalin, and instead of just leading with Trump's charisma, just like start just abusing power and like sending people to El Salvador who don't like him. Side note: we send fucking people to El Salvador.
Oh my God, with no due like no due process, and you're sending them to a foreign prison like that is fucked up.
Like,
That
like
is fucked up.
the Laken Riley Act is an abomination, using a dead
And
girl's name to basically run wild without rules or regulations.
and Democrats voted in favor of that. Democrats voted for that act.
The
How do you justify that? But you know what? I really think that it's a show of force. I really think that, again, going back to what I was saying about Trump being a mafia boss, that's his way of being like, hey, you don't want to end up like that, do you? Okay. Fucking pay your homage to me.
Yeah,
I think it's the threat. I think it's the threat. But dude, the Supreme Court, what they just withheld this decision 9-0. 9-0 saying that they he has to get those prisoners out of El Salvador.
wow. Not even the Supreme Court judges he put in were okay with this.
9-0. Not even Clarence fucking Thomas. That fucking guy.
I mean, well, okay, so at least that's a good sign that there is a, for at least for the Supreme Court, there was a step too far.
There was a step too far in deporting people without due process to a foreign prison
Mm-hmm.
is the step too far.
And some of whom we've already figured out that there were some people who were American citizens, and like we already know.
They had just had the wrong tattoo on their body.
Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
it's terrifying.
And you
Like
know what though? Half of America is not paying attention.
like how many red flags do there need to be is ultimately the question. Like because there've been so many. Like I
I
think actually I thought about this today because I was listening to an argument. I was listening to this guy who was arguing with Joe Rogan. There was this guy who went on Joe Rogan and
is it
argued,
that British guy?
is a British guy, and I know I don't agree with him, some of his politics, but it was like nice to see someone finally like push back against Joe Rogan. And there was this comedian there, I think his name is Dave Smith or something.
Yeah, he's a big libertarian.
But like this guy pushed back on them on a lot of things,
Okay.
and like it was just kind of nice to see that because the
Yeah.
kind of some people need to kind of start doing that.
Yes.
And shit, I forgot where I was going with this, but the point is that they brought up like Holocaust denial and stuff like that, and like the thing is that I actually think they almost hit on an important point, which is that the Holocaust is very important. But I think in our discussions of horrible atrocities and fascism itself, I think we as a society started to focus so much on the horrific outcomes of fascism that we forgot to show people that the road to fascism, what that looks like.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
focusing on how
Yeah.
you ended up there, we have always focused on the outcome. And all that has done is that people
Yeah.
no longer understand how we get there. Instead, they look at Donald Trump
Yeah.
and they say, well, he's not killing anybody. until we have people in El Salvadorian prisons, and then we're
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
because of course he didn't look exactly like Hitler or Mussolini. He didn't come out with, I mean, in a way, he did come out from the very beginning talking shit about immigrants,
Yeah.
like choosing classes of Americans and not and like non-Americans residing in America,
Hmm.
choosing to alienate and demonize them as members of our society. That's the first sign. That's like
Hmm.
one of the big signs. Like the reason you can, every time someone on the left has said that politicians like Hitler, this is what we're referring to, is because that politician is directly and intentionally demonizing portions of society. Because
Yeah.
that's the sign. That's the thing
Hmm.
Hitler did. And because we like can't process that that's what it looks like when you build up to the problem, like people just don't get it, and we've allowed it to happen again. And to be fair, it's not completely over. He hasn't completely destroyed America. There is still
No.
a level of hope, but like people, you gotta start waking up here at a certain point.
Yeah. 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 It's yeah, and honestly, I don't think for a lot of people they're really gonna care or notice until their pocketbooks start being affected.
Yeah.
And like that's honestly just kind of the sad situation of that where America is right now is we are so I mean, I was complaining about it earlier. Like, everybody is just so just focused on survival and doing their job that like and focusing on their family and everything like that, that they just some of these things they just don't have the time to pay attention to. And that's how this slip happens. Just you have enough people that just aren't paying attention
Mm-hmm.
until it's too late. And to be fair, like, I think it's I think there is something to be said about not immediate like then how let me ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
How do we when we have somebody like maybe say like the early not Donald Trump, but maybe George W. Bush,
Mm-hmm.
who's doing things that's like this is sliding towards fascism. You look
Mm-hmm.
at like the Patriot Act, and you look at some of the erosion of American rights. That's a security and that sort of in the name of security, like that sort of thing. How do we call out that behavior without just like it's sort of the girl who cried wolf sort of thing, without just saying, "Oh, Hitler, oh, Hitler, oh, Hitler," because at a certain point, people might start being tone deaf to that accusation.
It's a good point. And I think part of the problem is lack of real comparison.
Okay.
Like I used to hate George W. Bush. And I mean, I still don't approve of George W. Bush.
I don't like George W. Bush
I'm
at all. I
still
still don't.
I'm still against like almost everything he did. But I kind of appreciate George W. Bush in a certain way because now I understand what the actual contrast is.
Uh-huh.
And don't get me wrong, George W. Bush was very much a military industrialist president. He was
Mhm.
tied into all that, even if he didn't want to be. Everyone who he was connected to, his father, Dick Cheney, all these people made their money in two places, and that was oil and bombs.
Mhm.
So it's not surprising the type of president he was, but I now understand the and the stuff that he did with Homeland Security. That was all incredibly overreach and whatnot, and it definitely like that was actually the most fascist thing George W. Bush did. But like the thing is that George W. Bush, the difference between him and Donald Trump is that most of Donald Trump didn't choose to pick enemies inside the country.
Right.
All of George W. Bush's rhetoric was aimed specifically at people who existed outside the borders of the United States, specifically overseas. There wasn't like a specific class of American that George W. Bush was saying that person is ruining America. It
Except gay
was,
people.
well, I mean, yeah, he was anti-gay people, but I don't remember if he. I would have to look into his comments on gay people again to reacquaint myself with how like aggressive he actually was. I don't remember him using gay people
He
as a
might not have,
scapegoat.
but his campaign in 2004 was very much
Hmm.
a referendum on marriage equality and on gay rights.
You know what? That's easy to forget with all the other stuff. I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up.
Yeah.
Uh, but
But anyways, I see, but you are making a good point though about George W. Bush and the way that he wasn't as divisive internally,
mhm.
like amongst his marriage.
Now,
I'm
in
assuming that
fairness,
that's the point that you're making.
which is yes, that is the point I'm making. Now, in fairness, like there have been always been divisive people on the right who kind of want to like demonize every single person on the left.
Yeah.
And that's been going on for a while. I mean, like talk radio used to do it,
Oh God, it's
but
yeah.
then Newt fucking Gingrich was like, I think it's acceptable for us to talk this way as politicians. And
Yeah.
that really is what set up some of Trump for his success. Like if Newt Gingrich had never been allowed to normalize that, then maybe there would have been some more resistance to Trump and his behavior.
Hmm.
If Newt Gingrich had never normalized it being okay to just be an abusive dick and to just call other politicians you would have to work with you enemies of the nation and stuff. Like if
Yeah.
that had never been allowed to fly, then maybe Donald Trump might not have had as much success. But like it
I
was
think
normalized prior to him because of Newt Gingrich. Um,
I think in contemporary times, I think you're making a good point because I want to say if my history in the recesses of my brain is serving me correctly, I feel like there were times in the United States history
mhm.
where politicians were vicious towards each other.
Oh yes, no,
Just
I'm sorry. Yes, earlier in early American politics, yes, it was much more
yeah,
normal to be an
yeah,
unhinged son of a bitch.
yeah. Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I should have been more clear about like
No, 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 no.
like
It's just, but my point on that, bringing that up, is just that I think sometimes people think that the problems that we're facing now, even with Donald Trump and with how corrupt he is new. But like we've kind of gone through this before. I mean, Andrew Jackson was a corrupt gangster motherfucker, and a lot of the presidents that came after Lincoln, up to Teddy Roosevelt, were corrupt gangster motherfuckers.
mhm.
So this isn't the first time we've sort of experienced
it
this sort of presidency like
and it's
this.
not the first time that oligarchs have tried to take over the
No,
United States either.
no, no, no.
Like I forget who was president at the time, but I think it was like the train barons or something.
Was
What
it
one
William McKinley?
so it was the gold plot. Like these bunch of rich guys had a plan to like take control and have a monopoly of America's gold. But the president figured out what they were doing at the last minute and shut it down.
It
Uh,
might have been William McKinley.
maybe, in which
Hmm.
case I would have to give him some respect, at least in that moment.
Yeah.
Although apparently McKinley is supposedly Trump's favorite president. Uh,
Yeah, well, now because he heard about who knows why how he made that decision.
did McKinley do tariffs? It might be related.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Uh,
related to tariffs. Yeah.
um, but then also in the 1930s, there was the American Fascist Party's attempted coup against the United States government,
Mm.
which featured Prescott Bush,
Hmm.
who somehow didn't get serious penalties for that. But they tried to get Woodrow Wilson. They tried to coup Woodrow Wilson. Unfortunately for them, and fortunate for the rest of America,
Yeah.
the guy they tried to get to do the cooing was General Butler, and General Butler was a big fan of Woodrow Wilson, so he turned them in immediately.
Wow. See? Well, see, that's kind of what it takes is you have to have good people around. Because if you don't have good people
I
around,
mean, Woodrow Wilson wasn't really that great, but yeah,
no, he wasn't that great, but you have to rely that people have some sort of like but like you said, the Supreme Court, we found their border. You found the limit. Like and this General Butler, you said,
yeah.
he had a limit. He was like, no, but just imagine if General Butler did not like Woodrow Wilson and he was ambitious and he was like, you know what, fuck Woodrow Wilson. I'm gonna get this guy. Or what's in it for me? If
Mm-hmm.
General Butler was a little bit more self-serving, it's like, okay, you want me to do this? What can you do for me?
Mm-hmm. What kind of
You
position am
know?
I going to have after the coup, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What you got for me afterwards? What can you do
Yeah.
for me? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
man. Well, this has
yeah.
been a
It's been
just
nice to
like it
talk to you
always is.
again.
It's a whirlwind of topics.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice to talk to you again.
It's good talking to you too, man.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad things are going well for you.
Relatively. I mean,
Yeah.
like, actually, you know what? I think that, well, I mean, I'm still poor as hell, but generally, on a material level, I think I'm doing okay.
Hmm.
But I won't lie. I'm not sure where I'm at mentally with being 40 now. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Welcome to the club, man.
Yeah, no. You know what? At least us millennials seem to age decently.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we do.
have you seen those memes where it's like an image of like a character from a TV show who was 34 in like 1980.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
show like a 34-year-old person now, and they look like a child.
Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, that seems like a good note to end on.
That does. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a happy Easter. And thank you so much for joining me, Dean Coutris.
Thank you for
If you
having me.
enjoyed the program, please like, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, ring that bell. You can email the program at rubenuncut@gmail.com. And yeah, it's time to say goodbye, Dean.
All right. Bye, everybody. Happy Easter.
Yep. Happy Easter. Have a wonderful Easter whoever you are. Unless you don't celebrate Easter, in that case, just have a nice day.